During my time as a teacher, one of the most consistent challenges that I had was one that intrigued me and it also confused me at the same time. It was when I had a student who was expecting more than they were putting in. They were expecting better, they were expecting results greater than their effort. The effort was up and down. It was inconsistent. And sometimes these were the students who I had to have a special talk with and say, hey, it's one thing if you're going to choose not to do your work, I can work with you on that. I can try to motivate you, but it's an entirely different thing if you're going to not do your work and you're going to disrupt my class. We're not going to have that. So that was a special, as student received a special conversation from Dr. Byrd because we can't have anything interfere with the learning that's going on in class. But that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we respond to that student that's expecting more results than what they're putting in and what they're putting in? And ladies and gentlemen, we have to, it's just one of those things that, students, they come to our classroom and they learn things that they pick up. They've already picked up things. They've already learned things about the way life works. They've already formed in their mind an idea about the way things work. And then they enter school. They come into our classrooms. They pick up other things in terms of the way things work. And I say all that to say is, ladies and gentlemen, could it be, I'm submitting this to you, could it be that they're also learning this from schools to expect results greater than their effort, to expect more output than the input? I submit that could be true. No, I submit that to you. Think about that. Ask yourself that. And let me know what you think in the comments section. What do you think about that? Are schools sending the message indirectly, of course, that it's okay to expect more than what you're putting in? Now, definitely schools, and I love that we're finally coming around to this, to talking about those things, those external factors that may affect a student's performance in your class. We're trying to touch on those. We're sensitive to things such as mental health, and that is great. That is great. We need to be sensitive to those things. But then, and I know you teachers out there, you're wanting me to say the word that begins with A, because yes, we want to be sensitive to those factors that affect students. We want to take care of our students. Of course you do as well. You're a leader. That's why you're listening. That's why you're watching. But at some point, accountability. Yes, I said it. I said the word accountability. I know some of you are like, oh, that's the word. Yes, we need more accountability, And you know what? I also submit that you're right. You could be right. Now, not every student is the same. Not every situation is the same. So keep that in the back of your mind. But today we're talking about how are we going to respond? I'm going to give you tips, things that you can use to help you respond to those students who are expecting more than what they're putting in. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. This is the Marvin Byrd Show. I'm your host, Marvin Byrd. Let's get into this. We're going to talk about leadership skills here. Leadership skills, because the answer to this question of why are these students expecting more than what they're putting in? They come to me, they wait weeks into the quarter, weeks into the grading period, not turning in assignments. And then when it's time for grades to go home, is there anything I can do to bring my grade up? Hey, I turned that missing assignment in that was weeks late. I turned that in yesterday. Why isn't that graded? I don't understand this. That's why my grade isn't where it needs to be. The question is, how do we respond? How do we respond? Because my answer is always going to be leadership. It's going to be leadership. Leadership. How do we respond? How would a leader respond to a student who is expecting more than what they're putting in? Now think of this. When we talk about approaching this with that leadership, with that leadership posture, what I'm thinking of is we need to give students the opportunities to think and act differently. Give students the opportunities to think and act differently. And I think that's the case with all things when we talk about raising kids. Now, throughout history, we had spanking, yelling, withholding of privileges, and those are, throughout history, yes, those things are used, and some of them are there's and definitely they're still used. I've seen it myself in my office. They're still used, except for the spanking. That's never happened in front of me. Anyways, that's never happened in front of me. That's never happened in front of me. But I've seen parents, they look at their kids like they want to do something, but it's never happened in front of me. And if that happened, then definitely that's a serious thing. So I want you to know that. Anyways, so those are things that have been employed by parents. They've been employed by schools as well. The Board of Education, in order to help students and encourage students to think and act differently. Now, today, we've got to be more scientific. We've got to be more scientific. My last 5 years of teaching, I adopted love and logic. Love and logic. I went to a seminar of love and logic, parenting with love and logic, and it just blew my mind. I loved it. Because I realized that yes, this is going to help me respond to my kids and their decision making, and I'm not going to be stressed out. But then I also realized, hey, I could use this in the classroom as well. And so with the love and logic, there's a lot of data to back up this approach. And that's what I love about what we do here. We talk about leadership. There's data to back this up. There's data to back up this posture, this way of responding to students and helping them to learn and grow. We have so many examples of this working, so many examples of leadership, a special kind of leadership that it just works. It produces results. And so I used to do this with students when I was a teacher, and still, as a principal, when I sense that they're having a disagreement with either a teacher or another person. A lot of times when they're having that disagreement, it's not necessarily the thing that they're disagreeing on. It's the way that the message was sent. So I would say to a student, I would say, hey, tell me the difference between these two phrases. Hey, your house is on fire. Okay, that's one. That's one way of saying it. Or this. Hey, you stupid idiot, your house is on fire. So that's two different ways of saying the same thing. Okay? But the message is very important. Hey, your house is on fire. But if you say it in a kind of way, hey, you stupid idiot, your house is on fire, the person isn't going to receive that message too well. They're going to be focused. Yeah, their house is on fire, but they're going to be focused on the way that you said it, And I say that to you to back up that point, that how we respond is important. How we respond is very important. Now, Some of your students, they may come to your class and they may come from a background where yelling, that's just, they're just used to it. They're like, oh, mama's yelling again. Oh boy, let me go to my happy place until she finishes yelling. And so what I want you to do is I want to equip you with the skills and information you need so that you can hopefully, prayerfully respond in a way to help the student think and act differently. For sure. For sure, there are times when kids, when students, that just make you so frustrated. Like, whoa, why'd you do that? But here, I'm gonna teach you some things that you could do to help students think and act differently from the standpoint of leadership, because we want students to think differently. We want them to think differently because if they think differently, they act differently. They make better decisions. We want students to make more good decisions than bad decisions. And when they make bad decisions, when they fail, we want to give them the feedback to help them make better decisions. All right. So, number one, you need to keep your words and your actions principled and centered on growth. Again, we're getting into tips. I'm going to give you 4 tips to help students monitor their thinking. Keep your words and your actions principled and centered on growth. Now, what this is going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is this is going to give that student multiple opportunities. You're going to put up multiple stop signs for that student to see throughout the grading period that, hey, are you focused? Are you doing what you need to do? Monitor yourself. Do you need to course correct? That's what you're doing through your words. You have the ability to influence the behavior of your students through your words. Now, is it perfect all the time? No, it's not. No, it's not. That's why we talk about getting tools in your toolbox, assessing the situation and deciding, you know what? I think for this situation, I need to use this tool. For this situation, I need to use another tool. That's how it works. That's how it works. So it's difficult to do, but as leaders, we're expected to do different things. We're expected to do different things. Let me give you a phrase that you can try with your students, and this is from Love and Logic. Okay, so 2 different phrases, right? Okay. Johnny's messing around. He's talking. You've addressed him. You did the proximity thing. You did the staring thing. Like, I see you. Okay, you've done those things, and Johnny's he's not getting the message. So you had it. You say, Johnny, I've had enough. Okay, so that's one way. Or you can say, same scenario, Johnny, you're draining my energy, and I need that energy to teach you. Same message. Like, Johnny, I'm done. I'm almost done here. Okay, so Johnny, I've had enough. Johnny, you're draining my energy, and I need that energy to teach you. With that phrase, that second phrase, you're giving Johnny something to think about. Again, I think a lot of times, my wife always, she constantly reminds me when our children, when they're not being their best selves, okay, around us. But I mean, at school, they're great. We don't have any problems, with other adults. They're great. And, on the weekends, I like to relax. I work very hard during the week, and I work hard on the weekends as well. But, I just want to relax, kids. Can we please stop fighting? And my wife often reminds me, she says, hey, Marvin, they can be their true selves, carefree selves around the people that they know love them the most. And so I guess, I wish that wasn't so, but I love my kids, and we always we have to be mindful of the way that we respond and our words, because our words they always have to be pointed towards that ultimate goal of students learning and students growing, always. And when students see that you're still focused on that, even though they can tell, hey, you're not happy with the decisions that they're making, you can send that message, that you can send it in a way that lets them know that I'm not done with you, Johnny. I'm not giving up on you, Johnny. I still want you to learn, but you got to know that what you're doing right now, that's interfering with my goal of teaching you and the rest of the students in this classroom. So, yeah, it's difficult to do, but leaders are expected to do difficult things. So, and with that, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about your responses to students, and especially in challenging situations. Are your words and actions principled and centered on growth, or sometimes do you let your feelings and your frustration get the best of you, which has happened to everyone. Everyone. Students will do things that will make you like, get me out of here. I get it. And that's why I suggest that you got to care for yourself. Care for yourself. Now, I know, perhaps your principal would not want me to tell you this, but I'm going to tell it to you anyways. You got to use your days. Use your days. I know if you were like me, if this was you, if you were like me, like I was in the classroom, please let me know in the comment section. I want to hear from you. Just type an amen in the comment section. And my wife, she would say I was so crazy for doing this, but whenever I was going to be off, whenever I was going to take a day off or I was sick or whatever, I would drive. And at the time, I can remember it was about a 30-minute drive to the school early, like maybe an hour, 45 minutes before school started. I would drive to school early. I would get my room set just the way that I wanted it to be, because just like, I was just uncomfortable with the idea of just someone else sitting in my space, because that was my space. And don't judge me, because I know some of you other teachers are like that too. But yeah, I wanted to put all my stuff away, my personal stuff, because someone was gonna be in my space and get all the papers printed out, all my printouts and everything's laid out, all the notes and everything was good. So my wife would say, "You're crazy for doing that. That's not a day off." So, anyways, I don't know why I got on that, but use your days. If you have days, use your days. So this is hard work. It is. It's hard work. And so you need to be the best version of yourself to stay committed to something like this, to stay committed to monitoring your words and your actions and how you respond to situations, to make sure you're always principled and centered on growth. It's tough. All right, that's number one. Number two, I want to submit to you this, and I'm going to make this available for you to download. This is something that I created through Vision Chasers. Now, for those of you who don't know, Vision Chasers is the other side of my business where I speak directly to, I speak directly to students and young adults, and we talk about chasing your vision of success, a lot of motivation, self-improvement, different things like that. Through that, I made a rubric. It's an effective effort. It's an effective effort rubric. And the other thing I want to tell you is there is a YouTube channel. Vision Chasers has a YouTube channel, and I encourage you to check out those videos. A lot of them are very quick, and a lot of them you can use to help pump up your kids and get some extra energy in the room so that you can help them, again, give them another opportunity to think about their thinking so that they can act differently. So I encourage you to check that out. A link is going to pop up for those of you watching. And then I'll also, for those of you listening, I'll also add a link in the description section of this episode. So I encourage you, please check that out, the Vision Chasers YouTube channel. So through Vision Chasers, I made a rubric. It's called Effective Effort Rubric. There's a difference between effort and effective effort. Effective effort is something that you've put thought into. Effective effort is perhaps you set a goal, and with that goal, you've plotted out action steps that you need to take in order to meet that goal. So that's effective effort. So I encourage you, this is something that you can do with your students. You can assign to your students. You can give it to them. It doesn't have to be for a grade. It's just something for them to think about. Once again, because the idea is to constantly encourage students to think about their thinking. Don't give them opportunities to go days without thinking about what they are doing and what they are not doing. Because eventually the grades are going to come out. Eventually there's going to be a consequence for not turning in that assignment on Monday, not turning in that assignment on Wednesday, not turning in that assignment on Fridays. So what we want to do is through the way you respond to your students, we want them to constantly there needs to be something constantly firing in their brain every 5-10 minutes through the words that you speak, through your actions that remind them, you didn't do that assignment. You didn't do that assignment. You didn't do that assignment. When are you going to do that assignment? When are you going to turn in that assignment? You see what I'm saying? So we need to constantly get them thinking about the decisions that they're making. Because when they hear you speak, they hear you talking about, hey, grow. We need to grow. We need to grow. And then with number 2, we're talking about effort. Hey, how's your effort? Are you doing what it takes? Are you doing everything that it takes? Are you completing assignments, or are you working on assignments? What does your effort look like? Effective effort rubric. So I will make that available for you to download. Okay. Effective effort rubric. So that's number 2. The third thing I'm going to submit to you is simply recognize effort. So much emphasis is put on the outcome, and definitely the outcome is important, right? I think with most things in life, they can be, you can sum them up in a number, right? Most things in life, you can put a numerical value on it. And sure, we're caught up in that, right? We're caught up in that. And I used to tell students who were caught up in this for that game, I used to say, hey, if you want points, go play a video game. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is about learning. And so again, your words and actions centered on growth. I want you to learn, and I also want you to grow. It's not about the accumulation of points, because ultimately, and it's just disappointing when students when I had students who couldn't grasp that idea of the math, and the math not being in their favor when it was at the end of a semester or at the end of the year, and they had not a mathematical chance to pass, and they couldn't read that situation on their own. That was disappointing. It was disappointing. So we need to recognize effort. Put up. I'll tell you what. I had a teacher a few years ago. She did a really good job of recognizing effort, and it was throughout the class. She had some reward system, a point system and she awarded points for students, even if the student got an answer wrong. She saw that they were doing the best that they could. She would take that incorrect answer, and she would mold it into a clue for the next student. And so the student who had the wrong answer, they were They were validated. They were validated because, hey, they gave the class something that allowed for a clue to go forward so the class could ultimately get the correct answer. So the teacher validated that student. They praise the effort of that student. You need to go out of your way in order to praise and reward effort. When you see your students putting in effort, because so many students, they're so afraid. They're so cautious about getting the answer wrong. They don't want to look. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look dumb. So I just didn't say anything. So we got to respond to that. And that the answer is leadership. It's leadership. Also, I want to share with you a blog post that I did. It was about external rewards. How to start. Yeah, you have external rewards, but how to slowly transition to internal rewards, because that's where you want to be, where the student is they're setting their goals, and the most important thing is not something external that you can give them, but it's the fact that they feel good about themselves because they put in the effective effort and they arrived at where they want to be. They accomplished their goals. They made it happen because they made more good decisions than bad decisions. So I encourage you to check that out. That's going to be on my website, marvinbyrd.com. I'll link that in the description section. But that is a short blog post, very short. I keep all of my blog posts, maybe between 2 to 5 minutes long. A small investment in your professional development. I encourage you to check that out. Once again, that's going to be at marvinbyrd.com, marvinbyrd.com. All right. So 1 was keep your words and actions principled and centered on growth. 2, use effective effort. Use the effective effort rubric. Use my effective effort rubric. 3, you can recognize effort. 3 is recognize effort. And 4 is simply this: encourage students to remind themselves of their strengths. Encourage students to remind themselves of their strengths. You're not always going to be around. You're not always going to be around. And so what you need to do as a leader is you need to equip your students with the skills to lead themselves. Great leaders help others to become leaders of themselves. So with this, it's very simple. Just 2 minutes every day, 2 minutes every day, 2 minutes every other day. Focus on what makes them exceptional. Have your students focus on what makes them exceptional. And through that exercise, what you're going to find is, for some students, they're going to take to that very easily. They're going to do it. And then you're going to find there are some students who have a difficult time with that. And boom, there's your opportunity. There's your opportunity to employ your leadership skills. How do you respond to that when a student has a difficult time writing down the things that make him or her exceptional? And that's a wonderful moment, wonderful opportunity to build a bridge, wonderful opportunity to get that student thinking differently so that hopefully they can act differently. Ladies and gentlemen, with all these 4 things, it's going to be it's going to be difficult, I would say. It's going to be challenging for a student to stay on the wrong course after they've heard you and they've seen you respond in such a way. You're challenging them to think and act differently. Again, you want them thinking, because of the way you respond to them, you want them thinking consistently. If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, you want it just like there's a voice in their head saying, hey, why didn't you turn in that assignment? Why are you not taking notes? why are you talking and when the teacher's talking and not listening? You want those things to be going off in the student's head. And when you've got it like that, when you're responding like that, it's like you've multiplied yourself. You've multiplied yourself, and now you're able to influence students, and you're not even directly talking to them, but they can hear you in their mind. They know what you're going to say. And so just I just banged my elbow for those of you listening, and it hurts. We hope through that. We hope it is our prayer that they will do that 180. They'll do that 180. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason that we stay the course with this, the reason that with number one, we always keep our words and actions principled and centered on growth, is because when we do that 180, that 180 it's not always permanent that first time. Sometimes Johnny does a 180 and then things happen and like Johnny's going back. No, 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 no. We have to be consistent. We have to be consistent in our commitment to helping students think and act differently. And we do that through the 4 things I share with you today. Keep your words and actions principled and centered on growth. Number 2, use an effective effort rubric to help students monitor their effort. And then number 3, recognize effort. Use a reward system to recognize effort, not results. Recognize the effort. As long as they're given effort, you can help them get to the results that they need. And then lastly, number 4, encourage students to remind themselves of their strengths. 2 minutes every day. You can either have them write it down, or they can just reflect on the things that make them exceptional. Focus on their strengths, and that's going to fill them with a lot of confidence. Well, that's what I have for you today. I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch and listen to this podcast. And don't forget to check out marvinbyrd.com. Don't forget to check out the blog, the classroom leadership blog. Again, those posts are between 2 and 5 minutes, a very, very small investment into your PD, which is very important. Thank you so much for your time. And until we meet again, please don't forget that teachers are leaders.